Okay, I've recently uploaded paper 1 for my students, which involves a progress test on 4 physics topics. And the 4 physics topics I covered was the content, which was electricity, energy, topic 4, solids, liquids and gases, which is topic 5, and the most recent topic we've covered is electromagnetism. So magnetism and electromagnetism. And this is a paper 2 version for students doing the physics IGCSE, and they'll need to do paper 1 and paper 2. So this is the paper 2 content. I've taken questions from 2020 and 2019 to help prepare my students in advance of their mocks, which will be in January. Okay, so if you find my videos useful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Share them with anyone who you know is doing IGCSE this year. And you'll also find a lot of A-level videos on my playlists. So if you go to the home page, look for the playlists, you'll be able to find whatever you're looking for. So if you've got friends, brothers, sisters doing A-level, also let them know, and this will really help them. Okay, on the first page of paper 2, they give you all these formulae which are different to the equations in paper 1. So these are additional equations that you don't need for paper 1, and the same as in paper 1, they tell you that gravity is equal to 10 for GCSE, 10 meters per second squared, or 10 newtons per kilogram, because remember, it's the field strength on Earth, which is how you convert kilograms into newtons, and that newtons per kilogram is also an acceleration. Okay, so remember, gravity is not a force, it's a force due to gravity, but you shouldn't say gravity is the name of the force. Okay, so the first question is on energy resources, which is physics only. So in this paper, they can ask you anything from content which double science have to cover, but they also have content which is physics only, and this is a physics only energy resources. So because we've just recently done transformers in electromagnetism, unit 6, it's a good link with the energy topic. Okay, so there are 5 stages of electricity generation and transmission as shown in this diagram. So stage 1 is where the fuel is burnt. Stage 2 is a condenser which cools down the liquid, which is the working substance in the machine, which turns to steam under pressure. The pressure of steam has enough energy to rotate the turbines. So turbines is stage 3, and the turbines rotate the generator, which we've just done for electromagnetism, and then you bump up the voltage to the pylons, usually to 440 kilovolts, 1000 volts, and if you bump up the voltage, you reduce the current flowing in the wires along the pylons, so you produce less heat, so it becomes more efficient. And then when it comes to your home, they step down the transformer back to the voltage that you need for your homes. So there's more transformers that we're going to look at in this exam. So the power station burns a fossil fuel in the furnace. Give an example of a fossil fuel. Well, that would be coal, oil, or gas. Those are the 3 fossil fuels. Some of my students put petrol, and the examiners being quite relaxed about what they will accept. But the official answer is coal, oil, or gas. Which stage of the power station transfers energy from a chemical store? So this is topic 4, I should say, unit 4, topic 4. Chemical store to a thermal store, well, that's the furnace and boiler, because that's where the chemical energy is converted into fuel. So the answer is B. Okay? And then the second part says, which stage of the power station transfers electrically, from a kinetic store? Okay? So this is now, how do we convert it electrically? Well, that's a generator. Okay? The generator takes electrical energy from the kinetic energy. So kinetic energy goes into the generator from the turbines, yes? And then the generator, so turbines, goes into the generator. The rotation of the turbines, kinetic energy, creates the electrical energy. So this is combining units 4 and 6, or topics 4 and 6. And this one was from June 2019, if you want to find the mark scheme for yourself. But I've put the mark scheme in between these answers. Electricity can also be generated using solar farms. They want you to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of solar farms. Okay, so 4 marks, 2 marks for the advantages, 2 marks for the disadvantages, and the working part of the solar panels that they use photovoltaic cells. In other words, photo means light. Light comes in from the sun, and it produces voltage inside the cells. And they're kind of semiconductor materials, and the light actually liberates and makes them more energy efficient in terms of the electrons which are freed up. Okay, so there's the mark scheme. 1A we just went through, and here's the 2 advantages and disadvantages. I'm not going to rewrite them, so we're now looking at the advantages that they'll accept. 2 advantages from these 3 marks. So 3 ways of getting the 2 marks. It's renewable. Solar is renewable. That's a key term that you need to know. It uses no fuel. Yes, so there's no fuel cost. There is a building cost, but they're not mentioning that for the advantage. There's no fuel cost, and therefore there is no air pollution while it's generating electricity. That doesn't mean it didn't produce any pollution when you were making them. Okay, and here's the notes of what they will allow. Okay, there's no air pollution, or you could say that no greenhouse gases are produced. Okay, and then 2 disadvantages. Let's do that in a different color. So disadvantages in yellow. They've got 3 different ways that you can get the 2 marks. The idea that the sun doesn't shine all the time, so it's only useful while the sun's out. And the idea that the output depends on your location. So if you're in a sunny place like Dubai, you're going to get much more energy, although there is dust in the atmosphere, which will reduce the efficiency. And if you're living in a colder, more northern climate, the intensity of the light is less, so it will be less efficient. And it takes up a lot of space. So it takes up a lot of space, which could be used for example, the land could be used for planting trees, okay? So which are capturing carbon themselves. So it cancels out the advantage of not producing greenhouse gases. If you plant a trees on the land, you are probably doing something which is more environmentally friendly. So again, this is from June 2019. Paper 2, and it's the regional paper. Okay, not the one that's taken in the UK. All right, so I think solar panels are great, but you should put them, for example, on roofs of parking lots, or in Dubai there's a lot of shaded parking lots. They should put solar panels on the roofs of parking areas, and then you get shade as well. Okay, so create a service for humanity. Question 3. A student charges a plastic rod by rubbing it with a cloth. So this is the physics only part of electricity, which is topic 2. So static phenomena does not get asked about in paper 1. So static electricity is about a build-up of charge, and you can do it by rubbing 2 materials together, because one material will transfer electrons from the other material. Okay, just because different chemicals, different atoms, different molecules have a different affinity for electrons. The rod in this case becomes negatively charged. If you use a different rod, it could become lose electrons and become positively charged. So why does something become negatively charged? Means that the rod must have gained electrons, because electrons are negative. So the answer is C. Okay, that's the only correct answer. Okay, describe how the student could demonstrate that the rod is charged. Yes, so I've made these notes. These notes should be for the next section. I've written them in the wrong place. Okay, so my apologies. This is for the next part. So to actually prove that the rod is charged, you can, for example, attract little bits of paper. You can actually lift them up because paper is neutral, and if your rod is charged after you rubbed it and it lifts papers, that's showing how you can demonstrate that the charge is rod. So this is also for the next part. Okay, so that's it. You can also get a slow stream of water, and it will bend the water towards the charged rod, because water is a polarized molecule, because water is oxygen, hydrogen, hydrogen, and the hydrogens are at an angle of about 100 and something degrees to each other, and this side of the oxygen has the lone pairs of electrons. So this side becomes slightly positive, the hydrogen side, and this side becomes slightly negative. So a bit like you've got North Pole and South Pole in magnets. Molecules can have positive and negative sides. Okay, so that's for advanced level understanding. And then part B says the student has several other rods made from different kinds of plastic. Yeah, remember they're all non-conductors that get charged. Some rods can be charged positively and some can be charged negatively. So for example, polythene with cloth always becomes negative, and I think acetate, which is another type of plastic, always becomes positive. So it depends on their ability to transfer electrons or want to they can attract more electrons. So you've got to describe a method, an experiment, to show that different rods have different types of charge. Okay, I would do it like this. I would suspend a charged object. I would use a balloon. A balloon, when you rub it on your hair, becomes negatively charged. Then say you bring a piece of polythene that you've charged, it also becomes negatively charged, and you bring them close together, you're going to get repulsion. This one will be pushed that way, that will be pushed that way, and the balloon is light, so it's easy to show the repulsion between two negative charges. Then if you did it again, and you did it with a positive charge, say the acetate becomes positively charged, this time instead of it repelling the balloon, it will attract the balloon. Okay, so you have to explain both of those, and I think the best way is to suspend a balloon, a charged balloon. Yeah, but you could suspend a rod as well. Yeah, so suspend a charged rod, or in my case, I would use a balloon. I've done this, it works well with a balloon, as long as there's no draft in the room, because a balloon will move around if there's a draft. And if you wanted to suspend a charged rod, then you can bring two polythene rods. Yeah, so imagine this is a polythene rod here. Yeah, if this is the polythene rod and you bring another polythene rod, you're looking for repulsion. If you get attraction, it could be because one is neutral. So the true test is repulsion. Yeah, but you want to find, okay, so once you need to know that the suspended charged object, the suspended charged object, whether it's a rod or a balloon, you need to make sure that you know it's charged. And the only way to be 100% sure that it's charged is to get two of them the same and show that they're repelling each other. Okay, then you can test the other rods with knowing that your suspended charged object is definitely charged. So it's the verbalization which students find difficult. Okay, so 3 marks. Let's look at the mark scheme to break it down. Okay, so in the first bit about just proving that something is charged, yeah, which was the first part of the question. Bring it near someone's hair. If the hair moves, hair is neutral, then you know it will attract to the hair. Or small pieces of paper. You can actually pick up small pieces of paper with a charged rod, or you can put it next to a slow stream of water, yeah, and it will bend towards the charged rod. Yeah, students are always amazed when they see that the first time. And then you could put it next to another rod, which is the actually next part of the question, and they will move towards or away from each other. Yeah, you can also use a gold leaf electroscope, which it looks like this, and it's got a tiny bit of gold. This is metal, and you can bring your charged object towards there, like you got that. You could bring your charged object towards there, and it will induce a charge in this metal. And that's the gold leaf here. And because the metal you could rub it, for example, on the surface, this is also metal, then if it becomes negatively charged, the gold leaf will repel from the fixed part of the metal. And that's another way of determining whether something's charged, a gold leaf electroscope. So this is quite a conceptually difficult topic, which is why it comes in paper 2. Okay. Now remember, I said you need a method to show the next part. This is the last bit I explained. Method to allow the rods to swing freely, and I said I would use a balloon, yes, and I would charge the balloon, and I know the balloon gets negatively charged with my hair, and then bring other rods close together, and you'll sometimes get attraction and sometimes repulsion, and the only true test is if you've seen some repulsion, because otherwise it could be due to one being neutral. Okay, so this is the difficult part of this question. Hope you found that useful. And this is also from June 2019. So not all the questions are from 2020. And then I'm going to come back and do this question because I think the video is going to get quite long. There's 2 questions left. One on solids, liquids and gases, and then one on magnetic fields. 2 on magnetic fields. Okay, so if you found this useful, do give it a like, share it with your friends, and make sure you're subscribed if you're interested in seeing more videos. And if you go to the home page of my channel and then look for playlists, you'll find other IGCSE videos. Go to playlists and then look for the ones with IGCSE if you want to help with your preparation for your mocks. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.